I am Craig Renwick, and you're listening to Two Guys Talking Rush.
Guys are talking rush. Two guys talking rush. Two guys are talking rush. Two guys are talking rush. Two guys.
And now, get ready for the Two Guys Talking Rush podcast with your hosts, John Kane and Dan Buxton.
Hey folks, my name's John Kane, and this is the delightful Dan Buxton, and welcome to episode 2626 of the Two Guys Talking Rush podcast. This is not Two Guys Talking Ethel Merman. It's Two Guys Talking the incredible, iconic Rush. So listen in and discover the best damn Rush podcast in the entire Solar Federation. Two Guys Talking Rush. Dan.
What is up?
What is happening, man?
Nice Ethel Merman reference, by the way. I didn't see that coming at all.
Oh, my. Listen, my wife can sing, but she can only sing like Ethel Merman.
Wow.
So I call her the Mermanizer. She Mermanizes every song, and the Mermanator. That's it, the Mermanator. Yeah. She'll kill me for saying this, but
the torch has been passed.
Hello,
baby, hello, honey. Yeah, good stuff.
How about we could probably like Mermanate a Rush song, right?
Easily.
Time stands still.
It would be better, I think, on like the heavier sort of end of stuff, like doing Anthem or something like Anthem of the Heart, Anthem of the Mind. Why has no one done this yet? She did a disco album.
Did she?
She should have done. Oh my God! You haven't heard the Ethel Merman disco album?
I have to get that. I didn't know that.
It's not describable. I lack the vocabulary to accurately articulate how terrible it is. You must seek out a copy immediately, or just go on YouTube, because I think it's there.
In the high school halls, in the shopping
malls. Yes, exactly.
Ethel Merman, we love you so much.
Yeah.
Oh,
sweet Merman.
The sweet Mermanator.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, here we are, episode.
Two Guys Talking Merman.
We should. Two Guys Talking Ethel Merman. 2GEM, I think. Yeah, 2G. Yeah, okay, whatever. Anyway, hey, Dan, good to see you, my friend. Here we are. See you. Yeah, another amazing week here at Two Guys Talking Rush. Lots of good content. Wonderful guests. We bring nothing but the best to these folks, to these Rush fans. We are Rush fans, and we're here for the Rush fans. We are your liaison to all things Rush.
And people who are not Rush fans can eat shit, as far as I'm concerned.
You hear that, folks? Dan said it.
Yeah.
Whoever you folks.
I planted my flag. That's it.
If your giant thumb hit the wrong damn download, sorry. Yeah. I don't know what you're looking for. Maybe some
not this.
So audio book or so whatever. You reached us.
Yeah.
Sorry folks. Well, remember folks, this show is hosted by Rush fans for Rush fans, and our listeners know that we are inclusive. We want to include everybody. Each week we try and mix it up with guests and content, and we want fans to join us on this magnificent journey. We love Rush and we love Rush fans. Before I forget, I want to thank our guests. On episode 25, we had Rush Fest Scotland organizer Steve Brown. What an awesome dude. And I love talking to folks who are Rush fans from other countries and other lands as mystical as Scotland.
Yeah. No, he was great. I was kind of glad that he did his own audio, because that was a little glitchy.
Yeah, but, that is true. Yeah, we had some problems with the audio, but
he was a lot of fun. It was really interesting to hear what he had to say.
Totally. So just to remind folks, in September of 2020, Rush Fest, the annual Scottish Rush Festival, launched a charity Rush tribute album, and they got Rush album cover designer Hugh Syme on board to create the artwork. It's called Tribute Songs for Neil Volume 1. That was released September 12th. which was the late Rush drummer Neil Peart's birthday. All profits from the album went to Cancer Support Scotland, UK, and the Glioblastoma Foundation Neil Peart Research Award in the USA. The album itself features 12 covers of Rush songs, including Canadian singer-songwriter Jacob Boone's version of Subdivisions. Sorry, sorry, no, it didn't sound like that. It's not Ethel Merman.
Once you start mermaning, it's hard to.
Oh, I should just do the whole podcast in voice of Ethel Merman.
Not sure how popular that would be. I gotta say.
We would lose people
Quickly.
Yeah, exactly. So Jacob Boone's version of Subdivisions, Brazilian prog rock duo Fleesh, who covered The Garden, a wonderful cover, and from Rush tribute bands from around the world, including my friends Lotus Land, who did Cinderella Man, and on and on and on. Buy the album, folks. It goes to a good cause. We want to sell this thing out for our friend Steve Brown, and it's the money's going to go to a good cause. So please do so. So it's www.rushfestscotland.co.uk, www.rushfestscotland.co.uk. That's where you can buy the album, the vinyl, the CD, the download on that site. Steve Brown would appreciate it, and of course it'll again go to a good cause.
May I add something?
Yeah, do it.
It's also really good, like, to just listen to. It's great. It's not just a thing of like where you're buying this for the charitable aspect of it. Like, I've listened to it several times, and it's really good. So Rush fans, I think, generally would just enjoy it and just listen to it because they like it. I did, so I recommend it on that basis.
Yeah, it passed our taste test. Listen, with Rush not being around anymore, we're going to see more and more tribute bands, more and more tribute acts who are going to perform these wonderful songs from the Rush catalog. This one we give our thumbs up, our Siskel and Ebert thumbs up.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's going to be more. I mean, I think he mentioned they're working on another one.
Yeah, he said there was going to be a volume 2.
Yeah,
at some point. So
totally. So listen. It's, again, for a good cause, and it's good music. Buy it. And to remind folks on Two Guys Talking Rush, we are friends with the talented crews who make up the live event touring industry. We've had several of these guests on who in particular work directly with Rush. I want to remind folks to please support the Sweet Relief Musicians Fund at sweetrelief.org. That's Sweet, SWEET, Relief, RELIEF.org. A small donation will help thousands of music industry people who've been affected by COVID-19. We want the live event industry to come back, and we want those people who were working in the live event industry to come back. So the Sweet Relief Musicians Fund provides financial assistance to all types of career musicians and music industry workers who are struggling to make ends meet while facing illness, disability, or age-related problems. In other words, healing musicians in need. We all have received so much out of music, in particular with Rush. It's time to give a little back and remember who actually helps put these incredible shows on. So sweetrelief.org. I wanted to share something. I stumbled upon an article from 2013, which I found interesting. And, we are a fan show. Dan and I are fans. The show is for fans. And this particular article is quite interesting to me. In September 2019, Anthem's Rush's management company, Andy Curran, Peggy Ciccone, and Megan Simsk recently then made a trip to Hamilton's McMaster University to see a presentation by students Jyoti Bansal and James Renwick, which focused on profile data of Rush's fan base gathered via a global music download archive on their campus. You can find this article on the Hamilton Spectator website. It's very interesting. It says, quote, "I thought I would be wowed, which is why I came to Hamilton, but I didn't think it would be so beautifully laid out and presented," said Peggy Ciccone, Vice President of Anthem Entertainment Group / SRO Management. Especially interesting to the delegation was the finding that Rush fans have a unique profile and tend to also be big fans of classical music, jazz, and Latin. parenthetical, the music, not the language. The students were hoping a member of a band would show up with Saccone and the other two visitors, Andy Curran, Director of Artists and Repertoire, and Megan Simsk, SRO Management, Inc., but it wasn't to be. Too busy doing rock star stuff. So some other findings from the study show that Rush fans show a preference for songs from the 60s, 70s, and 80s rather than more recent releases, and that Rush was the most popular progressive rock band when it came to live recordings. Any reflection on that, Dan? I mean, are you a jazz fan? Are you a classical music?
I am not a
fan?
classical or jazz fan, but I love Latin music, like salsa, and I mean, I listen to it pretty frequently. Cuban specifically, I really really like. That's surprising to hear, though. But I mean, when you think about it, and you think about Neil's solos, there was sort of like a Latin vibe to a lot of it.
Right.
The jazz part, that's no surprise whatsoever, and also the classical part. But I have to be honest and say that when I'm listening to classical music, I'm like, yeah, this is great, but I wish it was classically influenced hard rock music like Rainbow. And when I hear jazz, I'm like, okay, yeah, this is good, but I think I'd rather be listening to King Crimson.
Yeah.
So I appreciate it and I get it musically, but I rarely put it on. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
No disrespect to anybody, but bores me, I think is the word.
Yeah.
But no disrespect. It's just boring.
No, yeah, totally. It's just interesting to hear, and I'd love to get into this database to see what the makeup of your typical Rush fan, from buying behavior to music consumption and things like that. So I just thought that was quite interesting, and I think at some point we're going to try to dig deeper and get some more info from these former students and the director of the program. So definitely.
Oh yes.
Yeah, totally, man. Yeah, and moving on. Well, speaking of King Crimson, have you been watching those Fripp videos?
I love those. Those are giving me life. And you mean the ones with his wife, right?
Yes.
Leah Wilcox. Yeah,
yes.
those are insane. And I mean, these are people in their 70s doing this. I mean, maybe she's like a little younger.
Yeah.
But I think it was the one that they did for Paranoid by Black Sabbath, or I can't remember which one it was, but she was like holding onto a gate outside where Robert Fripp was inside playing. Or it might have been Enter Sandman. I can't remember exactly which song it was, but I was like, wow, this is quite something. I would not have expected to see this.
I just saw Rebel. I think it was Rebel Yell. Was a recent one. Yeah,
that is the most recent one.
Yeah. In the Enter Sandman, which I think she's on the exercise bike or whatever. That I don't know what elliptical. That got a lot of views, man. I mean, millions of views. Yeah.
Well, it's crazy. You just sit there and you're like, what?
Yeah.
What is this? Yeah. But
totally.
Good for them.
Yeah. I dig it. Yeah. So Fripp is an incredible musician and just still going strong. Well, anyway, as a reminder, you can hear our podcast on TuneIn, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, Simplecast, and others. This show is recorded in video, so please check out our YouTube channel and click subscribe. And I want to emphasize that with the YouTube channel, because we have got some emails with regard to how we record the show. Since we record in a visual way, we sometimes show videos, sometimes we show pictures, presentations. So if we are ever talking and speaking of something visually in detail, and we will do our best to speak in as much detail as possible, you can always watch the show on our YouTube channel. So please, because I've had several emails, when's the holiday show going to go up? Because we went into Jeff Wagner's Rush Man Cave, and people wanted to see what that was like, and all that. So yeah, especially with today's show, we're going to be. We haven't revealed who the guest is. We want to keep that a special surprise, but we will be looking at photos today and for today's show. So it's not going to make up the entire interview, but there is a portion of the interview that will require, if it sparks someone's interest, to actually go to YouTube and watch some of that, because we're going to have some really special pictures to look at. So
Yeah.
Also a quick Rush Radio shout out. You can find Rush Radio on the TuneIn app and at rushradio.org. We want to thank Ed Stenger at rushasaband.com. We love Rush as a Band, as well as the Power Windows website 2112. Check them out, folks. Another quick shout out to the mighty Why Not. Their music can be heard in the show, our show's intro. An incredible band. We love Why Not. Rush fans, we want to hear from you. If you have any comments, suggestions, ideas, or questions about our show, please submit them to two guys talking rush at gmail.com. That's TWO guys talking rush at gmail.com. Definitely shoot us an email. We will respond immediately. We're always looking for super fans. So if you are a Rush super fan, we have a thing we call Rush Super Fan Spotlight, where we'll bring you on the show. We'll talk about what it is about you that makes you a super fan. Do you have a large Rush collection? Do you have every album? Do you have tattoos all over your body? Do you, have you read every book, and are you writing your own? I mean, whatever it is that you feel reflects on what you do, and based on your love for Rush, we want to talk to you. So shoot us an email.
Things, body modifications, whatever you got.
Have you painted your house like with a mural? I mean, anything, right? Yeah. I mean, we love the extreme stuff, and you're always welcome on Two Guys Talking Rush to show it. And it doesn't have to be long. It could be just for a few minutes and just pop in and pop out. All right. Our website is www.twoguystalkingrush.com. I have to keep forgetting to there's so many different platforms to update. I have to get, usually I put all the podcasts up on the website. They're everywhere. They're all over the platforms, but the website seems to just be like the landing page. So I think we're up to about episode 22 or something like that. Facebook page, facebook.com/two guys talking rush, TWO guys talking rush. Twitter.com/2 guys talk rush, 2 guys talk rush. And again, subscribe to our Two Guys Talking Rush YouTube channel. Also, as a reminder, we receive no revenue from doing this podcast. However, it does take a small amount to keep it going. We need coffee and, I don't know.
Mostly coffee.
Yeah. We need to get our nails done.
Yes.
If you're interested in fueling our passion to bring you the most up-to-date Rush news and awesome guests and content, please check out our Two Guys Talking Rush store at twoguystalkingrush.com. You can buy a coffee mug, a t-shirt, a button, a sticker, and other cool stuff. We also have a Patreon account where if you want to give $1 a month, $5 a month, 50 cents a month, whatever it is, that'll help us pay for the podcast and keep us going. It's www.patreon.com/two guys talking rush. Anyway, so we have what we call Rush News, this week in Rush history. And beginning in 1972, Rush play the Abbey Road pub in Toronto, Ontario. That must have been killer. Sounds small.
Very dinky, I believe, is the word. Yeah.
There you go. 1977, Rush play the Taylor County Coliseum in Abilene, Texas, on the All the World's a Stage tour. Wow. In 1977, Rush play the Civic Center Auditorium in Amarillo, Texas, on the All the World's a Stage tour. In 1978, they play the Wendler Arena in Saginaw, Michigan, on the Farewell to Kings tour. And 79, they play the Spectrum in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, on the Hemispheres tour. In 1980, Rush play the Forum in Montreal, Quebec, on the Permanent Waves tour. Wow. In 1980, they play the Palace Theater in Albany, New York, on the Permanent Waves tour. In 1988, they play the Convention Arena in San Antonio, Texas, on the Hold Your Fire tour. In 1992, they play the Great Western Forum in Los Angeles, California, on the Roll the Bones tour. In 1994, they play the Civic Center in Pensacola, Florida, on the opening night on the Counterparts tour. It was a great tour. In 1999, the film SLC Punk was released, including a scene where the main characters listen to the trees. That's cool. In 2005, the documentary Ringers, Lord of the Fans, was released, including an interview with Geddy Lee. In 2010, Geddy Lee appeared on the Canadians for Haiti telethon following the earthquake, the terrible earthquake of January 12th, 2010. In 2010, on this date, during today's episode of Supernatural, Sam and Dean go undercover in a mental institution using the names Alex and Geddy.
Wow.
Fun little tidbits to hey, pull over, if you're driving along, you pull your car over, take a couple of sips of coffee, and maybe you were at one of these shows. If anybody was at one of these shows, each week we talk about let us know. I mean, I want to, maybe you've been to 3 or 4 of them or 5 of them. I mean, some of them were so early, I wasn't even born. I mean, I was too young to go,
Yeah.
So the early 72s, 73s, I didn't see Rush until around 86, 87. So
I would be really curious to hear from people like who saw them in the John Rutsey days.
That would be awesome.
Because there was I can't remember which DVD it is now, but there was one where they're playing at like a high school auditorium or something like that, and John Rutsey was actually the one announcing the songs.
I remember.
I'm sure you've seen this, right?
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that's just a completely different concept of the band entirely, like not just musically. So I would be really interested to hear from anyone who actually saw one of those early shows, and and could, that era of the band gets completely overlooked, as we often say. I would love to just hear from somebody who saw them at that time, just to say what it was like.
It'd be cool to hear from somebody that saw them with Rutsey and then saw them with Neil, immediately.
Like the next year.
Yeah, that would be incredible. So what their response was. Yeah, that video is cool. That's where everybody's like sort of sitting down and like gleefully clapping. And they're not really
a lot of
standing up. Yeah.
A lot of that.
Yeah, synchronized clapping.
Yeah, thanks, Mom.
Totally. Well, onward. This week was the official release date of Fantunes' new officially licensed Rush book titled Neil Peart, The Illustrated Quotes. Fans, I belong to all these Rush groups on the platforms, and people are starting to post their deliveries. And it looks like a pretty cool book. The 108-page hardcover book was authorized by Peart himself before his passing and is currently available to order, via Amazon. Here's a little quick one on the description of the book. The first and only official collection of illustrated quotes from Rush drummer and lyricist Neil Peart. Neil Peart, The Illustrated Quotes, pairs elegant illustrations with some of Neil's greatest remarks to bring the poignant words of one of the world's greatest drummers to life. Pairing striking black and white illustrations from the acclaimed artists at Fantunes with some of the drummer's greatest quotes, Neil Peart, The Illustrated Quotes, keeps the beautiful words and musings of Neil Peart alive. Neil Peart, The Illustrated Quotes is the first and only Neil Peart quotes collection authorized by Neil himself. Not only does the book provide Rush fans, both old and new, the opportunity to dive into Neil's inspiring messages whenever they need to pick me up, it also serves as a love letter to Peart and his beautifully crafted words that have inspired and influenced millions around the world. I think I'm going to pick myself up a copy and listen. If Fantunes wants us to, kind of analyze this material, or any outfit that's putting out a new book, we'll take a look at it. We'll give it a good analysis and announce it on the show. And we want free stuff, okay? That's what we want. Jesus, yeah.
Exactly.
Send me a free damn book, will you, Fantunes? No, just kidding. I would actually read it and give you my best assessment of the piece. I don't know if they need us, but hey, we reach out to a lot of
as human beings, we all need each other. So think of it that way.
Embrace us, Fantunes.
Yes, it takes a village.
It certainly does. This past week, it's discovermusic.com posted lists of the 30 greatest prog rock singers, as well as the 50 best bassists of all time. And sadly, Geddy was not on the list. I'm just kidding. Rush's Geddy Lee was included in both. He came in as number 19 as best prog rock singer, saying that during his higher pitched days, Geddy Lee's voice was an obstacle for prog fans getting into Rush. But like everything in Rush, Lee's vocals just kept getting better over the years. Look no further than this nuanced performance on The Pass, on which Lee not only makes a resonant point, parenthetical, it's an anti-suicide song, but sings harmonies with himself. And Geddy was also number 15 on the best bassist list, rightly so. Any mid to late Rush track and evinces how Geddy Lee could do Flendish complexity while still rocking hard enough to drive a power trio. Watch him talk to You Discover Music about his time with the band. Instrumental tracks like YYZ, La Villa Strangiato tend to have Lee's greatest licks, but don't forget that he was usually doing all this while playing keyboard parts with his feet.
Yes.
Ugh.
I'm surprised he was at number 15. I can't imagine too many people who would be ahead of him, unless it's like, it's all genres of music and like, Jaco Pastorius is eligible. If it's rock basis, I can't think of too many, cannot think of 14 people better than him. That's for sure.
John Entwistle, Victor Wooten. I mean, not better, but just different styles, but still is Jaco, of course,
Yep.
A lot of
Chris
people
Squire.
love Chris Squire. Love Chris Squire, man.
Yeah.
He's really great. Jack Bruce, of course, because
Thank you for mentioning the Ox, by the way. He gets overlooked. And,
monster.
He was the band, as far as I'm concerned. I know that's a controversial statement, but without Entwistle, nothing would not work.
I love the Who.
Yeah, so do I.
Yeah. Prog Magazine is reporting that over a dozen progressive rock bands will hit the stage this coming summer in Oxfordshire, England, to raise money for glioblastoma research. Prog for Peart will take place at the North Court at a 200 capacity venue in Abingdon, Oxfordshire, the weekend of July 2 through 3. Wow. So it's actually going to be an event. Awesome. Well, I like hearing that. Solstice, the Far Meadow, 25-yard screamer, This Winter Machine, Rain, Warm Rain, The Paradox Twin, It, and Hats Off Gentlemen. It's Adequate are among the bands on the bill for a Neil Peart tribute concert. Prog for Peart, which will raise money to combat glioblastoma multiforme, the killer disease that claimed the life of the Rush drummer. Prog for Peart is 2 concerts, each featuring 8 prog bands held on 2 days, to be held at the North Court, a 200 capacity venue in Abingdon, Oxfordshire, on Friday the 2nd July, and Saturday the 3rd of July, starting at midday on both days and running through until midnight. Quote, the organizer, Mark Cunningham, says, I've been a Rush fan since the late 70s in 2112, and I decided I can't let this pass without doing something, and I had already booked the Bravado Lads, who are terrific and 3-piece Rush tribute band, for that July, so they were my first port of call, and asked them how they feel about turning it into a charity event. Maybe we can get him on the show, Mark Cunningham. Yeah, Mark, if you're listening, give us a ring.
We want you.
Drum Magazine posted an article this past week for their drumming remix series titled How to Play Tom Sawyer, Smooth Criminal, and more in 10 different styles, where they profile a few different cover versions of the Rush classic. How many drummers out there have jammed along or tried to Tom Sawyer by Rush? Okay, you can put your hands down now. Many of us are familiar with Neil Peart's one-handed 16th note prog funk groove from the original over the lyrics. Quote, today's Tom Sawyer, ... he gets by on you, period. Both Dave King of the Bad Plus and Matt Zabrowski of Alex Skolnick Trio get creative behind jazz chord reharmonizations. They both loosen up the funk and rely less on patterns and more on improvising the bass drum part. Kitty of Mindless Self-Indulgence speeds it up and shows how to turn Tom Sawyer into a surprisingly pleasurable electro metal experience. I love Alex Skolnick, man. I mean, I was always a Testament fan.
Yeah.
Just a forgotten about very important thrash band during the 80s movement, thrash metal movement.
The New Order, that album, specifically, I was very impressed by that album when it came out.
Yep, Legacy, The New Order, Practice What You Preach, all those albums. We love Alex Skolnick.
Man, we are dating ourselves.
I love The New Order. Imagine we were like 70, so Grandpa, what was it about heavy metal that you were, the Legacy by
Into the Pit was lovely.
Unbelievable.
It's good stuff, though. It holds up. I still listen to it today, and it's still just as good as it was.
Same here. I mean, I love classic metal.
Yeah.
I think for the most part, there's a lot of albums that still stand up for me, even even though lyrically they're a little goofy, like I love Tooth and Nail by Dokken. I just think it's a
Yes.
great metal album. I have a tape player. I put my old tape in.
Good.
And dude, it sounds, it brings me back to the day where I just had like posters of George Lynch on my wall.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh,
I too have done some rockin' with Dokken myself. And yeah, I mean, those are like, I would say, yeah, Tooth and Nail and Under Lock and Key
great.
still hold up as far as I'm concerned.
Totally. I mean, every song has the word love in it, but you know,
Yes.
it's okay.
That's all right.
Great albums. Yardbarker.com posted their list of 20 best instrumental songs of all time this past week, and both Rush's La Villa Strangiato and YYZ made the cut. La Villa Strangiato, diehard Rush fans believe this is the progressive rock band's masterpiece, instrumental or otherwise, off of the Hemispheres album. This is Rush's first instrumental effort. It checks in at just over 9.5 minutes long and truly highlights each member of the legendary three-piece band. The concept was composed by guitarist Alex Lifeson and is widely regarded as one of the group's most influential pieces of music. YYZ, off the commercially successful Moving Pictures. This is the first of several Rush instrumental songs that was nominated for a Grammy Award. While it's a complete band effort, the song truly highlights to the talent of bassist Geddy Lee and especially late legendary drummer Neil Peart, both of whom co-wrote the piece. In terms of Peart's performance, it's one that influenced many a youngster to pick up the sticks and sit down behind a drum kit. Yeah, I mean, YYZ it just lives on as one of the greatest instrumental pieces of all time, right? I don't think there was a time where Rush never played YYZ live. I gotta look that up.
I think fans would riot if they had played a show without playing YYZ.
I know, right? Yeah, so it seems like now we're starting to rate Rush. We're putting Rush in a lot of, we're reflecting on this history of bands and important artists and important musicians and their influences, and all these lists. Seems like we're in the age of the list,
Pretty
as far
much,
as, yeah, totally. Whatculture.com posted their list of 10 hard rock songs that are impossible to understand this past week. And Rush's The Necromancer came in at number 6. After adding Neil Peart to the group, Rush had really started to hone in on their own sound compared to the other bluesy rock acts they were aping in the early days. Fly By Night saw them getting a lot weirder with different time signatures, forming the foundation for what prog rock would become later down the line. Once they got that out of their system, though, it was time to get super weird. On the surface, most of Caress of Steel is weird as hell from the beginning, but The Necromancer occupies a completely different sonic space. Though thousands of great rock songs have been written about the works of J.R.R. Tolkien, this song is an absolute lost cause when trying to decipher. As the story goes, the song takes place in Middle-earth, with the guys in the band being transported into the Shire and getting threatened by Sauron in the process. That's not jumping off the deep end, though. With Bytor, parenthetical, a character from a completely different Rush song showing up to fend off the musicians as they make their way out of danger and live peacefully in the countryside. Despite the best of intentions when writing a story, this conceptual piece of rock art is the stuff of legends only if you're super into Lord of the Rings fan fiction.
Okay, that annoys me, but okay.
Well, tell me why. I want to hear why.
I had no problem. Like literally the first time I ever heard that song, I had no problem understanding what it was. I mean, yes, I had read Tolkien, and so I mean, I understood what they were alluding to. But even if I hadn't, it's in English. It's like it's not this crazy like, have you ever heard Magma?
No.
That's weird. Yeah. Check out Magma sometime.
Okay.
If you want to hear weird music, check them out.
Okay.
This is not weird. This is like, it's creative and it's progressive and that sort of thing. But I mean, it's not this like way out there thing that nobody can fathom.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah.
I get the feeling that whoever wrote that is not the hugest Rush fan. Something tells me.
Caress of Steel gets really beaten down. It's like
I don't understand that. I think it's a great record. I connected with it immediately the first time I heard it, like right away. I think I'm Going Bald is maybe not the greatest Rush song ever written, but if that's the worst thing you can say about it, I mean, come on,
Yeah. it gets sort of like beaten down like Motley Crue's Theater of Pain or something, like.
Or Goat's Head Soup by the Rolling Stones. It's
Do you
like,
know-
what is this strange transitional moment that
I love that album, Goat's Head Soup. Do you like that album?
that's one of my favorite albums.
Oh,
And
I love
I
it.
go on these like music discussion boards all the time and everyone talks about it like it's horrible.
It's so good. It's so
I don't-
70s.
It's great. I don't
Yeah.
get it at all. But I mean, there are so many, maybe as Rush fans, we can relate to this. There are so many things where like we hear the music, we think it's great. And it's not till later that you find out that there are all these people who can't stand it. And it makes no sense whatsoever. I mean, yes, there are things about Rush that I recognize are not for everybody. But man, I've seen some things written about them that are like, whoa, dude, sit down, okay?
Goat's
we're
Head
okay.
Soup, it just makes me want to like hop in an old checkered New York City taxi
Yes,
cab and drive
exactly.
around Times Square like all day,
The real Times Square.
The real one. Yeah. Well, bravewords.com posted an article on effects used by famous metal and rock bass players this past week, and it included Rush's Geddy Lee in the discussion. Of course. The bassist, keyboard player and frontman of the legendary Canadian power trio, Rush, is famous for not only for his falsetto voice, but also his ability to get in the pocket of any groove. Virtuoso Rush drummer Neil Peart laid down, while also providing support for guitarist Alex Lifeson's spacious rhythms and soaring leads. That is a long sentence. Literally, there's not even a comma in there. Lee and Lifeson have always been on the cutting edge of the effects department, and it is Geddy's use of chorus, delay, and echo effects that allow his bass to cut through the mix so clearly. In a recent live performance of the legendary Rush instrumental YYZ, the power trio brings down the house with incredible skill and musicianship. While their classic video for Distant Early Warning, we see the broad sweep of Geddy's talents and hear plenty of lush chorus in both the bass and guitar tone. This past Tuesday, January 19th, was the second anniversary of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame's Rush Fan Day. The event included an exhibit of Geddy Lee's basses, a book signing with Lee where he signed copies of his big, beautiful book of bass, a rebroadcast of Rush's 2013 Hall of Fame induction, and a Hall of Fame series interview with Lee hosted by bandmate Alex Lifeson. You can view this online. As I was saying, if Geddy Lee ever hears this episode or even bothers to listen in on these fan podcasts, I would love to just have him on to talk about his big, beautiful book of bass. I mean, we don't even need to talk. Why would you even bother talking about Rush with Geddy Lee? We're covering so much. We probably know more about Rush than he does with particulars. But to talk about his book would be wonderful, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but I would have a hard time not asking him about like amplifier settings and knob settings and all that, because Tim from Why Not sounds exactly like him. I don't know what he did to get that perfect, but he did. But it would be great to get it from the horse's mouth, so to speak, although I'm sure it's like a closely guarded secret. Tim from Why Not, I'm sure just kind of figured it out on his own, because I doubt Geddy Lee goes around like distributing flyers, saying how he has his amp set. So, but maybe we'll have to have Tim back and see what he can tell us.
That would be cool. I think at some point we'll get some bass players on, we'll get some guitarists on. There's so much we can do for future episodes, and but in particular to have Geddy on to talk about his big, beautiful book of bass would be a real honor. I don't know if it would be nice. It would be nice. It would be nice. Yeah. Well, that leads us to our guests, and each week we try our hardest to bring you good guests. I think we're doing a damn good job. We put a lot of effort into that. It's a lot of navigating, a lot of choreographing emails and dancing with schedules, and finally it comes together, and we land good guests on our show. We love that, and I think it's getting better because I think people are realizing that we're sort of credible.
Yeah.
I mean, we're
semi-credible.
Yeah, I was going to say we're still a couple of hacks, but we celebrate that characteristic, right? But
we're now experienced hacks.
Exactly, skilled
hacks. Yeah, exactly.
Well, this week we have a rock and roll photographer and longtime Rush band photographer, and I would say maybe even considered Neil Peart's personal photographer. He's also a writer, a musician, and again, a very close friend of the band, in particular Neil Peart. His name is Craig Murray Renwick. Craig, welcome to Two Guys Talking Rush.
Oh, hello, guys.
Hey, Craig.
Hello.
Oh, got the hat on, everything. Hey.
Of course. Craig, this is Dan Buxman, my co-host, the Two Guys Talking Rush.
Nice to meet you.
Good to meet you as well. I hear you're a New Yorker like my wife.
Yes, I'm sorry.
She's from born in Far Rockaway, Long Island.
Oh, wow. Okay, yes. I know it well. Yeah.
Yeah, Queens, lived in the city at age 17, back in the day. And so
Cool.
She has the Ramones song Rockaway Beach dedicated to memory, and very good.
I got her a t-shirt with the Rockaway Beach on it. So she was quite happy.
Nice.
Very cool.
She used to spend a lot of time at CBGB's.
Nice. It's a shame they didn't keep CBGB's. I don't know why they would. I think they tore down the walls and they took that to Las Vegas or something, but it ended up being a high-end clothing store at one point. I don't know what it is now, but
Really?
They've reopened. Well, they opened something with the CBGB name at Newark Airport.
oh,
Yeah, so which I can't imagine is what the founders intended. But hey, what do I know? I never knew the guy though.
yeah.
Maybe he said someday this will be in Newark Airport, or maybe he didn't say that. I don't know. Never met the guy.
What a way to kick off the show.
Yes, I want to go to Newark.
Yes.
Well, Greg, thank you so much for coming on Two Guys Talking Rush. As I mentioned, you and I had a wonderful conversation yesterday. And as I mentioned on this particular podcast, we bring guests on who could sort of demonstrate obviously a relationship with the band, and that relationship doesn't have to be personal. It could be, a fan that has a room full of Rush collectibles. It could be someone who's written a book about Rush.
Writing a book? Okay, here we go.
Exactly. I'm sure you have several in you. But just, then we look at Rush, how Rush has impacted society, politics, culture, and it's just one way to sort of look at the band through a whole new lens, and
And
drive
clothing wise.
That's right. Well, yeah, totally. Yeah. Well, I got to do it. That's my little cap, my little homage to the band. But I just wanted to thank you for your time. And I didn't start off with a proper bio for you. So why don't you let fans know who you are, and kind of we'll take it from there, and I'll drive the conversation with some questions.
Another hoser, Canadian boy. Same, Neil and I grew up in the same hometown. As he pointed out, I was from the bad side of town and he was from the better part of town, which was like, really? Port Dalhousie is the better part of town? I don't think so. That's where we go to have a fight, is in Port Dalhousie. So, but he was there on the lake, and that's he was a few years older than me, and I didn't cross paths with him until as I was sharing with you yesterday, when I worked for Sam the Record Man in the St. Catharines area. And we all grew up in that area, like a bunch of good Canadian boys. And I didn't start. Well, I had a camera in my hand at a very young age, but as far as the very first thing I ever shot, I guess you could consider it professionally, was that I was asked to go and photograph the Peter Gabriel, his first solo tour, and he was playing in Toronto. So, and I didn't have really anything to speak of. I had to borrow a cheap ass Russian camera and a couple lenses. And I grabbed a bag full of slide film that I got from my local store, caught the train up to Toronto. And, it was before everybody got really cranky about a photographer being in a venue. And I was able to just wander around and take pictures. And I took all those pictures and came home, wrote the story, It was in the Brock University newspaper back in the day. I can't tell you what I wrote. I don't remember, but it was.
How old were you when you wrote that?
I gotta say I was probably 17 or something like that.
Wow. And you grew up in Port Dalhousie, right? That's the area you grew up in, or you just hung out there, or what?
Port Dalhousie is the northern part of St. Catharines, which was incorporated Port Dalhousie. I grew up in what they called Meriton.
Yeah.
And Meriton was a small community, and then they got incorporated into St. Catharines, and I went to Meriton High School. Neil was in the North End, so.
Yeah. What kind of kid were you? Were you like a rock and roll kid, or what? Were you into all the stuff, or what?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was fortunate. I lived next door to my aunt and uncle, my mom's sister and brother-in-law, and their daughter, Deb. Saturdays was always take the bus downtown, St. Catharines, to the Palace Theater, and for $1, you got to see 3 horror films and 3 Stooges and cartoons. And then we go across the street to a place called Small Fry, which was like this very narrow hole in the wall for a burger and fries, and they had those little jukeboxes at each table. And of course, for whatever it was, a nickel, you could get a couple songs or whatever it was. And of course, I always wanted to play No Particular Place to Go. That Chuck Berry song is one of my favorites. And I bought the 45, and I played the crap out of it over and over. Drove my family nuts,
Yeah, I love Chuck Berry. You mentioned to me you sort of had a sort of a cross pollination of music growing up, listening to classical, listening to jazz and country, right? Is that fair to say? Yeah. I
think it came from different areas of the family. My grandfather, my mom's dad, was huge classical opera. So he would say, Craigie, go down to the library, go catch the bus to the library and get me some opera. And I goes, what do I get him? I said, Grandpa, what do I get you? Just get what you think. And I would go through and grab the opera records of the classical. I got into Mahler and Wagner, and of course the traditional Beethoven, whatever. I had him with that. My cousin Deb, who I used to go to the movies with, I had her Beatles, Rolling Stones, Dave Clark 5, Paul Revere and the Raiders, all the records from her. And her father, my uncle Bill, his nickname was Duty. And Uncle Duty used to teach me songs when I was 10 years old. George Jones, Merle Haggard, Hank Williams, Jimmy Rogers, all the
good stuff.
Country. And of course, then my dad's side of the family were from Paisley, outside of Glasgow in Scotland. So I have bagpipe music.
Wow.
My uncle used to yell out the window when we had bagpipe music. Hey, who's killing that cat over there?
That's hilarious. So you move on. You're sort of you've had a rich background listening to all sorts of varied and diverse styles of music, and you're in high school and you're starting to listen to rock and roll a lot more, maybe more in depth, and then what sparks your interest to pick up a camera and say, all right, I want to start shooting these shows, I want to start capturing this sort of aesthetic with regard to music? Rather than writing, you're picking up a camera, you're capturing it on film.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when I was a kid, I had a Kodak little instant, with a cartridge, and I used to take my models and pretend they're in it. The Apollo 11 model, I would pretend they're on the moon and take pictures. So I had a camera in my hand when I was like 7 or 8 at that point. When I got to be a teenager, and like I was sharing with you, the Peter Gabriel show was really the biggest one that I started off. I mean, locally, I would take my camera to see, local bands at a concert, the local Canadian bands. I never saw the Majority or the other bands Neil was in. Well, the one band I would have loved to seen was Mumbling Something. That was a rarity that I don't know if anybody remembers that band, but that was early in his career. I think it was like 2 or 3 guys, same kind of thing.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, they're fun. Actually, a friend of mine from high school sent me I think it was his cousin, collects an enormous amount of Rush, memorabilia. And he has photographs of Neil's signature in the high school yearbook. Cool. And, it says, Neil, Peart, Mumbling Something. It was like,
I remember that. I think I remember that, Mumbling Something. Yeah. Early, that was very early on in his career. Yeah. So you're taking shots of Peter Gabriel, and then when you process the film, and you're like, whoa, I like this. I want to. You like the lifestyle. You're sort of hanging out with bands. I mean, what is it? What makes you love rock and roll photography?
I wasn't at the point where I could go and like merge with them or whatever, but it was like. Because I was such a rock and roll guy, I had my own band in high school. The influence was the band, of course, because being Canadian.
Yeah.
And Robbie Robertson and the guys. So, I was definitely a musician from the get-go, from like a young age of 10 years old. And having a band in high school, I was also what they called a social director or something. I got elected twice in high school because I think they liked it because I was pretty much every Friday there would be a dance. If I didn't book a band, I would book my friend Paul and I, who were we were disc jockeys. So we had 3 turntables, cassette decks, a trunk of records, and we dragged those things to the high school or to the Lions Club or to the Meriton Legion or whatever. And we would DJ. So it was constantly. And then I had this idea, I'm going to put together a big show in the auditorium. On the main stage, there'll be the bigger bands, like a band called Star-Lord, which was a big band for us. The members in that band went on to a band called Night Winds, which was a Genesis influence band. So I had those guys and another band. So the band at the end of the hall of the auditorium would finish their set, and the main stage people would come, and then we would switch out the gear on the back, and then our band would play, and we were crap, we had fun, but we were doing Pete Townsend was a big hero of mine. The Who was, I had the 45 by the High Numbers. When then they switched to calling themselves the Who, we did a little Tommy medley of hits. I did an original that I wrote. We would do Love Roller Coaster, some crap like that. We just had a lot of fun. So all of the rock and roll stuff, I was definitely, my hair was getting long. I was down to here, and I had the sideburns down to here, and and then once I started, after the Peter Gabriel taking photographs, going, oh, this is great. So what other show can I get to that I can take the shots? And I ended up, either going to see, again, like I was sharing with you, the diverse music that I like to listen to.
Yeah.
One night to go see Billy Joel, then it was Earth, Wind and Fire, then it was the Jacksons with Michael. And then I even at that point took my camera to go see Rush at the New Century Theater in Buffalo. There was the James Gang and Rush, I think, was on the same bill.
Wow.
Yeah, it was so much fun. I found some of those old photos that I shot from that show, and I'm trying to remember what tour would have been. I want to say it could have been Caressa Steel. I'm not sure.
Were you working at the record store during this time? Is this how you? Not yet. Okay.
No. Yeah. I worked at the paper mill first, and then I got the job at the record store, and then I was working with Jackie, Neil's first wife, and like I was saying, her two brothers, her twin brothers, they bought a franchise for Sam the Record Man, and I guess she told them about me or whatever the case may be, and they stole me from that store, which pissed off the owner of that store because I'd worked with him for like a year or whatever, and I went to work for them managing the one store in Niagara Falls on Queen Street. They had one there, one in Welland, and another little small kiosk store. And the store in Niagara Falls on Queen Street is actually where I met Neil for the first time.
What year was that around? When did you start working there? And
I want to say
late 70s?
Yeah, no, it was definitely late. It was because I was still playing in a band at that point. As our last tour before we split up was 1981. So it was probably like 1979 to 81, 82, whatever. So 79. So I don't even know chronologically in the discography what that would put, Rush at. Probably Permanent Waves, I think.
Yeah, that sounds about right. So by the time you're working, you already know who Neil Peart is in the band, and you're well on your way and immersed in photographing music. So what happens? How do you meet? What's it like, that first encounter, meeting Neil? You guys hit it off. You're very close friends, so there must have been some sort of, you just kind of sniff your buddies out, like, wait, this guy's just like me, and we sort of get along,
I kind of think we all know of his reputation of being a private, kind of quiet type person.
Sure.
So the first time I just saw him in the back of the store. It was like there was a place in the back behind the street where he could have parked. I think it was a Ferrari at that point, and he could sneak in through the back door. So when he was in the back door, I saw him back there, and I was like, you look over and you go, "Oh, that's him. Oh, that's him. Oh, that's pretty cool." Never met him there. It was like he came in real quiet, went down into the basement to go have a cigarette with Steve, and it wasn't until the second time he would come by, because he had like I guess they would call it an acetate of some sort, Permanent Waves album to the store, so we could put it on the turntable and tease a lot of people who were in the store. It's like, the guys are there like, "Holy crap, is that Rush?"
Yeah.
Like, "Is that the new one?" It's like, and of course, we're like, "Oh yeah, it's the Rush album. We're cool." And of course, Neil's back there. He's hearing all this stuff as well. So it was, and then from then we started hanging out. I would go to his house in Beamsville, and that was so we started out. And it took a while because he is that that private kind of person.
Sure. I mean, by the time Permanent Waves hits, and that's even before Moving Pictures. Yeah, he obviously was setting a path to greatness as the premier progressive rock drummer that he ultimately became to be. So it's just interesting. Yeah, amazing. So what happens for you? You leave the record store. You want to become a professional something, right? So what?
No, I stayed.
You did?
Oh yeah, no. And I was telling his who I was telling the story to, when we were going out and hanging over at his house and whatever, there are these sunglasses I bought, and they had little red dots. There were little light bulbs in there, and a little wire so you could, your eyes would flash when you hit the button. And I bought 2 pairs. I gave Neil a pair, and I remember when we had the sunglasses on, and he would drive up next to somebody, and we would look over and flash the lights at them, and boom, and just like aliens or whatever. I had a lot of laughs. That's the thing that a lot of people, obviously he was an incredibly serious writer, musician. I mean, intense. But there was this other side. He was a total goofball. It was just a lot of fun.
That's amazing. That's incredible. So, yeah, I've heard that too. And yeah, that's, these are the intimate moments that really matter, I think, in the long run, who he was just as a person, as a man,
Yeah.
and I think a lot of that's coming out now. A lot of fans didn't know that. Obviously, a lot of fans didn't know Neil personally, but we only see as a fan what's released through the media, what's on the records, what's in the books. But coming from someone that's had a personal relationship with Neil, it's always refreshing to hear that he was just a nice guy, and that really matters.
And a good cook.
Oh, wow, we didn't hear that one. I've never heard that. Really, he was a good cook. That's awesome.
Oh man. Oh yeah, he was great. He taught himself how to do these things. And if I was over, like when we were living here, I'd go over for dinner. Okay, you're in charge of this, the sugar snap peas. Make sure it was very precise. You got to cut this way and then this way and strip this and the whole, and then I was the sous chef. Yeah,
I would be terrified just to mince vegetables in front of him, because I'm certain he was like, no, this is how you do it. You do it at this angle, or it's wrong. So.
However, it does not surprise me that he was a meticulous chef.
No, it's great. I'm pulling pictures for to share with you today.
Yeah.
And I came across a couple of the shots that were making spaghetti bolognese one night, and I got a picture of his hands pulling the pasta out of the pot and going into another, and he's turned around giving me the smile it's okay, go ahead. And then he's stirring. I remember distinctly he was stirring the pot, and he had a satellite radio station, like classic rock station, and they were playing Cream, White Room, and dun, 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 dun. It was that pattern, and I'm looking over, and his hands, and he was doing the rhythm.
Yeah.
And I'm looking over. I said, "Is he getting that right?" And I'm going, "What am I talking about? It's friggin' Neil Peart. Of course he's going to get it right."
He's hearing it differently than you, maybe. Yeah, totally. So, at what point do you start to shoot the band and start to take photographs of the band? Well, and I don't want to lose sight that you are also a professional photographer. I mean, you shoot other things and you have shot other things. So maybe I should retract and ask, what, aside from shooting rock and roll, which we will get into, in particular Rush, what subject matter interests you as an artist and as a photographer throughout your career?
I think I lean more towards
your voice.
Yeah, the sort of arty photos, of course, being an arty farty kind of guy. I have a series there. It's called Drive-By Shooting, and it's not shooting.
Right.
It's shooting. I would have the camera with me wherever I went, and typically if I'm driving around in the city here, I would just suddenly see something. I'm already loaded, boom, and I'm like, it's like I have a wide lens, a 24 millimeter, and I'm firing it off because I see something that's happening that I want to capture. And I have no idea. At the beginning, I was shooting film, so I would have no idea until I got home, and in the darkroom here, I would process all of the film and then go, oh, okay, and that's crap, and then there would be that one shot.
Yeah.
And that was, that's part of what I would do for fun. I do corporate photo shoots as well for events. That's a lot of that. But the Rush one.
Did Neil say, "Hey, you got great photographs, come on tour with us"? Or I've looked at a lot of your photographs, and a lot of them are centered around Neil. Because of your relationship with Neil, would you consider Neil you as Neil's personal photographer, or is that an accurate description?
I wouldn't go that far. I mean,
well, there was Andrew McNaughton, right? And then there's was it John Arrowsmith?
John was the pyro for the tours.
Okay.
And John picked up the camera because there's so much time that you're not blowing things up on stage.
Right.
When he's prepping, and he could, covertly go around and do where he was.
Yeah.
He could go up high or go over to the side, and I'd be in the pit. So we were sort of complementing each other. With Andrew, I shot a few shows with Andrew, which was always fun because, each of us have a different eye of what we see. There's a few of them that have been out there on the road, including, what was his name? Ged's friend, the baseball player, the real tall, I forgot his name. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
Played for the Diamondbacks, the pitcher.
Mm-hmm.
He would come out. Of course, he'd have like a duffel bag full of gear because he can afford a gear like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm renting lenses for a tour. I'm going, okay, I need the 400. I need this, and get all that together. And this guy shows up with, thousands of dollars worth of gear.
Right.
Yeah. Sure. What tours did you start? What was the first tour you shot? When did you begin shooting?
The
Rush?
30th anniversary.
Nice.
That was, I reached out to him. I said, I kind of would like to come down and shoot, because it was local, at the Irvine Meadows that doesn't exist anymore, a venue that they hated.
Oh, really?
Oh, I didn't know that. No.
It was,
Was the sound not good, or do you know what the reasons were for their issues with it?
It typically you're there in the more of the summer time.
Yeah.
And it's friggin' hot. It was one of those amphitheaters where the hill went up and the sun was straight at you.
Got it. Yeah. Yeah.
And poor Lauren, Gump. I got a couple images from him on other shows at the Irvine Meadows where he's got a towel over his head because it's just
terrible. Yeah.
It's 85 degrees and it's hot, and you got all of the lights and everything going on at the same time. So, and for that show, I was shooting film. I had my duffel bag of film, and I remember I went backstage and before the show, my cat's sneezing, and Neil comes over. He goes, "Okay, where are you shooting tonight?" I said, "Well, I don't know. I'm thinking I'm going to be out there in the audience to get more of the wider end." He says, "Okay, look, Jack Black's going to be here tonight," and everybody knows Jack Black, the actor. And I said, "I have no idea what he's going to do. He's going to come on during whatever the song was." He said, "Just be ready, okay?" I said, "Yeah, no problem, whatever." So I got myself positioned out there. And I kind of think it might have been a 2112 thing. I'm not sure. And, on stage, Ged always has the props. And for the 30th anniversary was the two dryers.
Yes.
The clothes.
Yep.
So I'm waiting. I see Jack coming from the stage over here. He walks over. He's got a laundry basket under his arm. And I'm looking, what the hell is he going to do? He walks out to the dryers. He starts taking off his clothes. And like Neil, I'm looking at Neil, and Neil is like,
yeah,
he's playing. He's like, what the hell is he doing?
That's so funny.
And then finally, he's down to his boxer shorts, and he's throwing stuff in the dryer, and then he jumps up on top of the dryer, and the spotlight hits him, and he does the pose like the Starman.
I love it.
2112.
I love it.
Oh my God.
And I go boom, 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 and then he jumped. That was it. I got it. But what happened? His boxer shorts came down, and the crack of his ass was showing, and it was like I sent it to Neil. I said, "Here's Jack Black's crack."
Yeah.
Oh man, I love Jack Black and Tenacious D and all that. Man, he's so funny.
He was crazy.
Yeah. That's so cool. So since you and Neil sort of lived near each other in California, did you hung out off tours and hung out with Neil? What would you guys do? Take go for a cruise,
Oh,
have a few drinks? What sort of stuff did you guys?
well, depending on the year that, well, in my backyard, I have a greenhouse, and it was a kit I bought, and I sent him a PDF of the instructions, and he was reading it, and he calls me up, or he sends me a note, I don't remember. He says, it says here you need 2 people for this. I said, yeah, well, I'll manage, and whatever, I'm by myself. He said, well, I'll come over and build it with you. I was like, okay. All right. So he's he says, I have a couple of stipulations. I want a good ham and cheese sandwich. No crap. Okay. Just give me a really good one. Chocolate chip cookies or brownies, and a good lemonade, not the crap that you buy at the 7-Eleven. I mean, a really good lemonade. Deal. Okay. I got it. No problem. And then he shows up, and we got the kit, and him and I are building the greenhouse in the backyard. And it's like, okay. But I had just bought this brand new rubber mallet, and you needed to tap a few things in. So I'm tapping, I go bang, bang, bang. The mallet head comes off and hits him straight in the chest. And he looks over at me and goes, we're not using that again, right? Yeah. No. I threw it off to the side. But we did that together.
Sort of just like average stuff, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, there's one of the pictures I sent you. Him and I would go to, here in Pasadena, we have the Rose Parade. And before the Rose Parade itself, they have a thing called Band Fest that would run for a weekend, where all of the marching bands or selected marching bands would be showcasing their talents at the Pasadena City College football field. And they, do the marching around. And he loved the marching bands. So I'd buy the tickets. Him and I would go. We're sitting in the audience having a hot dog and, a soda or whatever. And we did that for years. Every New Year's.
I love it.
Years, we would do that.
I love it. Why don't we look at some of your photos? Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
All right, cool. So for fans that are listening to the podcast, as we mentioned, we sort of have an introduction to the show with Rush news, and Dan and I have a conversation about whatever's topical in the world as it relates to Rush. And we mentioned to fans that we have a YouTube channel, and you can subscribe to that YouTube channel. And any sort of visuals, because quite often we will show videos on the podcast. We will have people who will show a presentation or show a few photos. So anybody that wants to see these select few photos that Greg has shared with us today, you can go to our YouTube channel, and the podcast will be up there. So here we go, and bear with me one moment, please.
Two guys are talking, brush 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 two guys.
Stay tuned for part 2 of the Two Guys Talking Rush podcast next week. That's not nice.
Plymouth Rock would land on there. In olden days, a glimpse of stocking was looked on as something shocking. Now heaven knows, anything goes. Good authors too.
Live music inspires millions around the world, but the concerts we all enjoy wouldn't be possible without the countless crew members working behind the scenes. As COVID-19 puts concerts on pause, we want to extend a helping hand to the touring and venue crews who depend on shows to make a living. Crew Nation was created to do just that. Crew members are the backbone of the live music industry, and we hope you'll join us in supporting them through this temporary intermission until we can once again unite millions around the world through the power of live music. Crew Nation is powered by Music Forward Foundation, a charitable 501c3 organization that will be administering the fund. Live Nation has committed $10 million to Crew Nation, contributing an initial $5 million to the fund, then matching the next $5 million given by artists, fans, and employees dollar for dollar. Please support Crew Nation at www.livenationentertainment.com/Crew Nation.